Welcome back, my friends. We have been building the Metro Map activity from the YByte Python curriculum. In fact, we have built almost the entire project with just one line. Everything works in this as we saw in the last video. We are able to select stations and tells us the fare. Now, it turns out that the city has expanded. A new line in the network has been added. We must upgrade our program to accommodate that new line. For us, as you know, that new line is the Python line with an interchange at YByte. So we expect this line to go sort of vertically down, interchanging at YByte. So in this video, we'll see how we can draw the Python line, kind of reusing the code that we already have over here. Just to recap, let's first look at our plan. The way we are drawing this, remember the scratch line was drawn at starting from say x of 50, y of 200, which is here, and I just drew a horizontal line with every station at a distance of 70 from each other. Now YByte is by interchange station, which means that I want the Python line to intersect at YByte. Also, I want the Python line to be vertical, which means that the x value for all these stations is going to be exactly the same, and that will be the x value for the YByte station as well. Now I know this because my starting offset is 50. Thereafter, every station was 70 units away. So it's 50 plus 70 times 4, which is this, and that is 330, which means that for my Python line, I'm going to fix my x value at 330 because that will make sure it intersects. I will also have to make sure that it intersects from this side. So all I'll do is that I'll choose, I've got two stations ahead of YByte. So I just give sufficient room over here. And I say that, okay, look, I'm going to start at 200 minus 70 times 2. If I had started here, then I would come exactly at YByte because remember YByte is at 200 Y. If I started, with the gap of 70, this would have just completely overlapped. But I want to give a small little offset, and which is often done to indicate that this station is on both lines. So I give an offset of 20. So now I hope this is clear. In short, I'm going to start my Python line at x of 330, y of 40. With a gap of 70, this station will be at 110. This will be at 100, 180. This is at 200. This will be at 250, and so on and so forth. So this is the logic. Now, of course, we can make it more automated. We can make it more, different from what this is, but it's important to understand the logic. But having done this, in fact, we are in a pretty good shape. So I'm just going to come in here. I'm just going to, for now, create, let's say, a new list. So I just take, let's say, this piece of the code, and I'm going to just copy this entire thing along here, right? So I take this code here, I just copy this. Now I'm going to modify this for the Python line. Let me just sort of comment this as well. So this is the scratch line. And now I'm going to just say, well, look, this is the Python line. Now here I'm going to, have to update the stations. So the stations that I'm using, again, doesn't really matter. You can call them anything else, but I'm using, say, escape, escape char, let's say while loop, say YByte. YByte is the interchange station, of course. The next station is, say, if, elif, else. Must be a very mysterious station. Then I have the station called range. Then I have a station called, say, dictionary. Now these are all Python, let's say, constructs. And finally, I have a turtle park, maybe, which is some kind of an amusement park or something like that, right? So I have this, let's say, turtle park. Now again, the names, like I said, I'm going to place these stations starting from x of 330, y of 40. I'm going to maintain the same distance between the stations and keep our station also equal to the, to 6. Let's say the same as Python line, same as the scratch line, sorry. In this case, however, the loop is going to run over the Python line. Logic remains exactly the same, which means that, for every station, barring the last station, I draw a line. However, this is important. Remember, my line is going to appear vertical, whereas previously my scratch line was horizontal. So what I have to do is that this statement here has to be on the, say DSTN. Now, why is this? Because like I said, now see this very carefully. I'm going from XSYS to XSYS plus DSTN because remember, I'm going to have it go vertically. And in this case, I'm going to make it, let's say, blue color, because my this Python line is, say, blue in color. Next, everything remains exactly the same, because again, I need to draw those ovals at the x's y's for the given radius. We have seen this before. All I need to do is to change this into, say, blue. And finally, I will write this label to the right of the stations, which means that I will put the offset of 30 on xs, not on ys. Like I said, all of this can be generalized into a function. In fact, it becomes really nice. But once we understand the logic, we can just do it from here as well. Now the fill again will be, let's say, blue. Now remember, my line is being put vertically, which means every station has the same axis, but I want the ys to be changed. So I must make sure that the y becomes incremented in steps of each station. In fact, this is all we need to have my line displayed. And let's see this working. When I run my code, notice these lines appear quite cool. It looks like this 30 offset is not quite working very well. Well, I can change this to, let's say, maybe 40 now. And notice it looks pretty cool. I've got these two lines in place. Of course, you can adjust this in some other way. You can have the line displayed differently, but this is just fine for now. However, notice that these two boxes are still showing that stations only from the scratch line, and that's not surprising because previously we are using only the scratch line. But now my all stations has not only the scratch line, but it also has a Python line. Now basically I need to join these two lists. I could have used the extend method over here, but simpler is to just say I'm going to just join these two lines, these two lists. This is sufficient for now, because now my stations will demonstrate, will have an opportunity for me to go from any line to any line. Now when I do this, notice that my stations now have both scratch line and Python line, both for the start and stop. But also notice that there's a small problem. My ybyte station is being displayed twice. That's because both the lists had ybyte. Now that's not a problem, because I can go and remove this from the list. I can use the remove method, because remove method is basically removing an item from a list given a particular value. So I just say, well, all stations, dot say remove, in this case, say y byte. Now this will remove the first instance of y byte. Second one will remain. So, one of them will still remain. When I run this, so when I run this code now, notice I see only one y byte because one of them has been removed from the list, which makes a lot of sense. Now, of course, right now, if I were to say pick up anything from scratch line, it will calculate the fare, but the functionality is limited. If I pick something up in the, from the Python line, let's say, even ending on the Python line, I don't see anything happening because those values are not yet built in. We're going to come back and see how we build that logic, but I hope this was clear. We got the second line. Now you might say that, okay, look, this stop is going too much to the right side. Not a problem. We can fix this again, because remember, this is the x and the y. We have set it x of 250. We can make it, bring it somewhere to the left side. So I can just say maybe x of, let's say, say 200, and that should be sufficient. When I run this, notice my start and stop are quite cleanly away from the list. And, again, I can, let's say, broadcast to costumes. I calculate fare. It's 20 rupees, just one stop away, right? Of course, like I said, we'll build this further, but I hope this was interesting. Very, 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 lots of room for innovation. So go through this systematically and, enjoy this whole process. If you find that this way of learning works for you, you find it interesting, do look at our website, because we have many, many, many such activities. Take care. Thank you so much. Bye bye.